Welcome to video 3, where we're going to deal with a lot of what ifs. Like, what if school couldn't really reopen until September 2021? That's gotta make you curious. Let's go! Okay, now I'm sure you're really familiar with many of these characters. Well, back in the day when Pixar was just Pixar, whenever they were going to start a new project, they had a series of what-if sessions. For example, what if toys came alive when no one was around? Or what if a colony of lowly ants revolted against their grasshopper overlords, of course with the help of some circus bugs? Or what if robots in the future could fall in love, all in the backdrop of the Earth destroying itself with pollution? All Pixar movies started with what ifs. So that's what we're going to do today too. For our purposes here in June 2020, what if school would not reopen until September 2021? In other words, what if you had to conduct an entire year of school outside the classroom? But Jeff, this is hypothetical, right? Well, maybe not. I'm with Dr. Fauci and many others who believe that there will be a second and even more potent wave in the fall. As a matter of fact, we've seen both in France and Korea, who tried to restart schools in May, that there were already a spike in COVID cases in schools. We're going to take a look at two very different courses. First, we're going to take a look at math, grade 5 math, as a matter of fact, and we're going to drill down specifically to fractions, add, subtract, multiply, divide, mixed operations, and simplify. Then, on the other hand, we're going to look at a macro view of a philosophy course, but we're only going to focus on Plato, Nietzsche, Marx, Kant, and Dewey. So why this approach? Well, video 1 demonstrated just how outdated global education systems are. COVID showed us not only that health and financial systems were messed up, but so is the education system. Video 2 demonstrated just how much waste there is in the instructional design process in this outdated system. We all know how overwhelmed teachers and schools and districts have been during the COVID lockdown. So ask yourself this question. If our hypothesis is true, right now, who is the most important people in your school or district? Think about it. My guess is librarians and district SMEs. Why? These people have spent their entire careers curating knowledge, media, and new ideas. For the next few minutes, I want you to think like a digital librarian. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of Star Trek movement here, and we're going to speak and talk a little bit about fractions. So like I said, across the top, we have add, subtract, multiply, divide, mixed operations, and simplify. And what we're going to look at here are textbooks, worksheets, PowerPoints, and then some videos about all of these topics. Now, obviously, we're going to need some evidence of their competence. Notice I'm not using the word mastery, because mastery would mean that no one could move on until they've mastered the topic. And we know our systems don't work that way. So, how do we measure competence right now? Well, tests, word problems, exams, maybe some STEM activities or STEAM activities as a group to be able to help students understand the concept. But let's talk about just this kind of stuff that we're going to curate right now. Okay, another sort of Star Trek move over here so that we can talk about philosophy. So why philosophy? Well, back in 1985, I took a philosophy course at a local community college, and not too long ago I went online to that same college to look at that same philosophy course and it looked almost identical. So we know that fractions don't change. We know that philosophy doesn't change much. This is why I want to talk about these things. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to talk about 5 major philosophers: Plato, Nietzsche, Marx, Kant, and Dewey. So what kind of information are we going to curate about these guys? Well, we're going to talk about the books that they have written, and then we're going to talk about reading about these philosophers. Then we'll probably have some sort of PowerPoint. Then we'll look at some videos online that are about both of them. And then obviously we're going to have to come up with some sort of evidence as well of competency, again, not mastery. But how are we going to do this? We'll probably do it with essays, projects, both individual and group, a term paper maybe, tests and quizzes. However, I'm not really going to focus too much on that. Jeff, you can't be serious. Why would we have so many options? Why? Because here's what I want you to think about. No one teaches the same way. Here's my point. A big school, elementary school, might have 3 to 5 math teachers, maybe even more. These people, plus the district SMEs, and maybe even math department heads from other schools, are the resource team. Over here, a large university might have 3 to 5 different philosophy instructors. A region or partner university might have 10 to 15 philosophy professors in all. They are the resource team. So how is this going to help? Well, imagine if teachers new to digital delivery had a mountain of resources at their fingertips in order to create digital lessons instead of having to do it all themselves. Now, in video 2, when I was talking about the lean process, I mentioned something called Agile ADDIE. What do I mean by that? Well, I love the ADDIE process, but it is, the old way is ingrained in this long, wasted time process that we talked about in video 2. So Agile means it's going to happen and we're going to move and we're going to continually change the design. But it also means we can change pieces that we want to use if we have a lot of resources to pull from. So let's go through this one at a time quick. So A, we're going to assess the situation. What does this mean? Well, we're going to look at learner needs, the evidence that is going to be required, as well as different delivery options. Doesn't mean what kind of device or even how it's going to be pushed. Design. In this process, we're going to do the collaboration like we talked about. We're going to get all the assets and resources together, and you're going to need to storyboard. Take a look at the link down below. Storyboarding is a key piece of this. Next, we're going to go on to develop. And this is the crucial part and the time-consuming part, where we have to pull all these pieces together and put it into, though I hate to say it, some sort of linear fashion, because that's what we have to deal with now. However, we can curate assets and we can come up with a migration plan. In other words, those who are better at the technology can move stuff into the LMS or whatever system you're going to use. And you need to prototype. So, going back to some discussions I've had with people out around the globe, prototyping is essential for this. In other words, get the people who really know the technology to do some of this quick so it becomes a template for other teachers to be able to use. Not necessarily the content, but specifically how to use the technology. Then they can go to the resources and pull the content they want. Prototype it to make sure it works. And then then we go to implement. So what system supports are going to be in place? Technology supports to help some of the teachers who aren't all that tech savvy. Curriculum support for maybe some of the younger teachers who don't know all of the material. We need some sort of a feedback strategy for parents and from teachers, from parents and from students. And we need some sort of a fixed mechanism when something's not going to work. If the curriculum's not working or the tech's not working or something's not working, what is the protocol for being able to fix this? Then we're going to go to our last piece, which is evaluate. And we're going to evaluate the curriculum, we're going to evaluate the students, we're going to evaluate the teaching, and we're going to evaluate the effectiveness based on the evidence that we have gained from the students, right? So we're going to assess everything and everyone, and then that's going to go back to the assessment plan so that we can do it all again and keep quickly changing things. Now, the beauty of having these here is that if you want to change one piece, say one video, you only go in, pull out video out, tell people that that video is out, pop another video in, and they know to go and get that one now. You don't have to redo the entire course. So this is what all of this stuff is all about. Now, what if we gave students access to all these same assets to study what and when they wanted? Because all of this talk that we've done so far assumes access to broadband web. But we already know, or maybe you don't, half the globe still does not have broadband access or even net access or stable access. So what if I can show you some examples of digital delivery anywhere in the globe that don't require consistent net access? Curious?